When entering, you had to greet and say, Assalamu alaikum. You've definitely never tried halva like this before. Together with you, we saw how animals are traded. You saw how people bargain and buy Mansa weapons. Friends, today is the second day. We are in Nizwa. This is an ancient city where you can see real markets, real trading, and feel the spirit of the East that has been preserved and never disappeared. In addition, today we will also visit old settlements. We'll see, if possible, if we can get into one of the museums, where we'll also look at various ancient landmarks. And to wrap up, today we will be at the Grand Canyon of Oman, the great, the majestic Omani Canyon. So today is a very eventful day. Watch this video, enjoy Oman, enjoy the culture. We are at the traditional Nizwa market. Today is Friday, it's a day off, and right here you can clearly see how trading authentically takes place. Everyone comes here, they can bring a dagger, they can bring weapons to bargain, choose, and acquire something for themselves. Because for Omanis, this is a traditional art and a traditional purchase that every man should possess. It's all very interesting and quite fascinating to observe. You can see how people examine the weapons, make their choices, and how the process unfolds. The market is a whole ritual, which is truly impressive. It's nice just to stand aside and watch how it all happens. Bananas are brought in and sold right away. They're fresh, straight from the village. In an absolutely amazing place, this is a real market. It's as if time has stood still, as if the millennia that brought us to the modern world never happened. You can see it right behind me. This is a real market, an animal market. Right now, trading is taking place. Those who want to sell, the sellers, bring their animals and then walk them around in a circle. You can see how it all happens. The merchants, they sit in the middle or also stand around in a circle watching the animals. If they like the animal, they start inspecting it, they bargain to agree on the best price. After all, we are in the East, so bargaining is essential. It's impossible to convey this with words. You have to be here. You have to feel the spirit of the ancient East, of ancient Mana, to truly understand how it all used to happen. And they have preserved all of this, and you can see it right now. Right now, we are at a market where I first learned that, besides the halva we're used to, there are dozens of other ways to make it. There are a lot of factories in Oman where it's made by hand. Just look here at what halva looks like. This isn't the kind we're used to, where everything is hard. It's made in a completely different way. It's simply amazing. Now we're going to go and try a few different kinds to find out what real, fresh halva tastes like. As you can see, the factory that makes this halva has been around for more than 150 years. Just imagine that. The tradition is still preserved in Oman to this day. So let's have a little tasting. For that, there are disposable spoons provided. I want to try the one with pistachios, which I love, most of all. You can see from the texture that it's completely liquid, right? So this halva isn't like the kind we're used to. It's all soft. And now I'm going to try it, and then I'll pour myself some traditional Arabic coffee, which you absolutely have to drink with it. You've definitely never tried halva like this before. It's an indescribable array of different taste sensations. I recommend that when you're in Almana, you absolutely have to try all the varieties they have here. You definitely need to pour some coffee because the halva is soft, so it's very important to wash it down. It's incredibly, incredibly delicious. Even now, the aftertaste lingers and my thoughts are lost because it's impossible to convey just how tasty and amazing this is. You absolutely, absolutely must come to the market. You can see there are so many different factories here. Here's another one. Trade is bustling, people are buying, and honestly, it's not expensive at all. Just one Omani rial each, I think. Yes, yesterday we bought a pack for a maskir, and that's about $26. So, overall, it's not expensive for real halwa, which I'm sure you've never tried in your life. Oman, you keep impressing me. You can see how it's made here. There are also Omani flatbreads, which they call grandmothers. We started our day by visiting together with you, and we saw how animals are traded. Yes, you saw real trading just as it was thousands of years ago. We already looked at the weapons market, and you saw how Mansa weapons are bargained for and bought. But here, it's more about traditional history. You can see that you can buy all sorts of different pots here. Here, for example, is a pot like this and a traditional pot. It's used to pour water in so it cools down, and then you drink from it. But as you can see, there are also modern things here, right? So if you like, for example, your child, for instance, might like something like this. It's a piggy bank. By the way, yes, you see what cool things you can make. You can easily buy a really great gift here. I think this is clay, most likely, and accordingly, you can break it later. It will definitely break well. So there are things like this, and of course, as you can see, there is a huge selection of everything here. We are now in the part of the Nizwa market where they sell exactly these kinds of items. You can buy, for example, different mugs for drinking tea. I think they're called pisters or pialas. I don't remember the exact name. Of course, you can also find originates here, if I'm calling them correctly. For example, I still haven't found one for myself. At home, I have special tablets for burning pressed with the scent of oud, but I still haven't found one here. And of course, there are various traditional sticks here as well. In short, here you can find everything you might want to buy and keep as a souvenir, so that it would remind you that you were in Oman. Oman is an amazing country that impresses with its hospitality, its millennia-old history, opportunities for leisure, and of course for investment. I'm sure you've already heard that many investors are now buying real estate here. Why? Because when they invested in Europe, in the United Arab Emirates, in Bali, in Turkey, and then they came to Oman, they fall in love with this country, and they fall in love with how this country is developing its economy and what opportunities it offers to investors. Oman is like Dubai was 10 years ago. You have to agree, it's really great to get in at the start now so that your investment can yield good growth in the future, and almost all the real estate is being built right on the first coastline. It's really nice when you can walk from your villa or apartment to the shoreline and enjoy the sea, practically within walking distance. But Oman, it's not as simple as you might think. In order to truly understand which locations are promising, it takes many months of work to study this country. I travel around Oman, I come here for work, I know this country, I study the cities, locations, developers, and projects so that I can understand where your investments will work and where you might make mistakes. If you are interested in learning about Oman's potential as an investment destination, or if you are already planning to buy property here, call me. And together with my team, I will help you, just as we help our clients every day, choose the best projects for investment. Right now, we are in one of the traditional shops where silver is sold. In Oman, silver is actually more common than gold, so you can find all kinds of silver jewelry here. This is generally a jewelry shop, so of course you can buy all sorts of gifts for yourself here. You can see that here is a jewelry box made in the traditional Omani style with painted designs. Obviously there are various animals. There is also wood again. Everyone really loves to make things naturally. That's what impresses about Oman. There's very little plastic and very few cheap, let's say, souvenirs. You can see how much beauty there is here. And here's what I was telling you about. Just look at the sheer variety. All the different silver options that women can buy for themselves as jewelry. Women in Oman can wear gold, but men are not allowed to wear gold. Nevertheless, silver is the main type of jewelry. And of course, Oman is also about weapons. We've already talked about this. Let's take a look at the daggers. A dagger like this costs 470 Omani rials. Multiply that by $2.6 and it comes out to about $1,300, $1,400. Here's another dagger. And just imagine, this is a mandatory attribute that you must have. So if you don't know how to make one yourself, you'll definitely have to buy one in Oman. There's another little shop over there. There are dozens, maybe even hundreds of them here. You couldn't visit them all. Just take a look. Once again, Oman is all about history, the Omani Empire. That's why people here don't like weapons, but this is part of the culture, part of the tradition. You can see traditional Omani belts, which are necessary for holding cartridges and for carrying accordingly. A dagger. There are a large number of daggers you can choose from. We just took one out and looked at it together. As for rifles, there are certainly many gun shops here, but you're asked not to touch them. Well, what they mean is, of course, not to take them out. But just look here, how old this wood is. That is, this is a genuine item that you can buy and keep, dating back to around the 16th century. It's really cool. It's just real wood. And also these old stands, the way they were before weapons became modern. And of course, the traditional Laman canes. Mostly we see grandfathers here at the market sitting with just such canes. All of this is beautiful. Once again, it's natural wood. If you want to buy a souvenir, if you want to decorate your apartment or your home, then of course this is the best place to come and choose from a wide variety of things. And as is tradition, of course, in any shop, in any place, as always, you can try fresh dates. Yesterday, we already saw what dates look like when they've just been picked. We take it with our right hand. A date, as always, we enjoy how wonderful it is. And of course, we definitely pour something to drink with the dates. Greetings from Oman. And now, let's take a look. A private hotel called Rechong, where you can stay. As a rule, one large family stays here, or you can come with a big group of friends. It's huge here. There's your own private garden with a closed door. You can accordingly spend time outdoors here. You have your own private pool and these gorgeous swings for the kids to enjoy. and accordingly you only enter your own living area where you can stay. The price depends on the season. As a rule, it's from 45 Omani Riyals now up to 80 Omani Riyals during the season, meaning when it's not so hot. This is a very large room. Everything you need is here to feel comfortable, even a crib for a baby if necessary. Of course, the windows open and lead right out onto the terrace, but again it's hot now, so no one will do that. Here is a large bathroom, and again, as you can see, it's the same setup, a shower right on the floor, and everything can be put away. Everything you need to spend time here comfortably is provided. I really like this place. It's usually rented by VIP guests or by a large family. For those who want maximum privacy, you can celebrate various events here. There are 3 rooms. If needed, someone can come with service staff, or you can come with a large group, so there is space for everyone. That's the wonderful story, and now we're about to see everything in a very bright light. And here you see a large door behind which you'll be on this private property. You are in the largest fort of Nizwa. We are at the very top. This is the top of the fortress, where essentially the defense took place. Take a look. This is what the cannons looked like. There were special embrasures designed for defense. If the enemy advanced, then, thanks to these cannons, which could be rolled back or brought closer as needed, it was possible to defend the fortress. And overall, there was a prison here for those who broke the rules. There were also barracks here. Accordingly, there was a mosque, which this fort was built to protect. But we will take a look at that together later. We'll approach it on the map, on the diagram. It is believed that this fort was never taken because it was built so skillfully that no one ever managed to capture it. So these are the steps that invaders had to climb floor by floor if they wanted to capture the fortress. To get all the way to the top, we just saw with you how it was defended. But there were secrets here, thanks to which no one ever took the fortress. Secret number 1 is that right here, as you can see, now it's just an imitation, a glass floor. Here, a so-called secret collapsing step was hidden. If you didn't know about it, you would step on it and fall into special cavities where, essentially, you would either die or later be taken prisoner. And right here is a special recess between the walls. What for? So that when the door was closed and someone tried to break in, all the attackers would be standing in front of the door. And from above, they could pour down boiling fake oil or syrup. And this syrup was hotter than boiling water. You can imagine yourself that. It was almost impossible to wash it off, and all the attackers would be incapacitated. So this kind of multi-level and secret defense system, where no one knew where they might fall through or where something might be poured on them, allowed the Omanis to defend themselves and keep their homes, never giving them up to anyone. This is the diagram I was telling you about, where we can see what the fort looked like. From above, the height reached 20 meters or even more. The fort extended downwards to a depth of 14 meters in order to ensure its stability. And as we've already seen, yes, we had loopholes so that weapons could be fired from them. We also had a floor where cannons were placed for defense. And of course, those very secret steps I mentioned, and that same boiling syrup which made it possible to defend the fort. You see, yes, so when invaders tried to sneak in, they would fall further down, or into places like these. A special room with steps that would collapse, and then they would be doused with syrup from above. So, in this way, they defended themselves. And overall, it's worth noting that you can see how they tried to preserve the architecture just as it was. Of course, everything here has been restored, that's obvious, but you won't feel it. You'll still feel like you're in the old port. And of course, to survive here, on this territory, there are wells. There were more than a dozen of them so that people could always have access to water from different sources. Well, God forbid. If, say, one of the wells was poisoned or stopped working, and of course there were also food supplies and kinkali here. Traditionally, this was so that people could eat during a siege and hold the fort for as long as necessary. This is what a traditional room looked like, where the local residents would meet and socialize. Of course, before entering, it was mandatory to take off your shoes so as not to bring sand in from the street. Upon entering, you had to greet everyone by saying Assalamu alaikum, and everyone present would stand up and greet you in return. This was considered mandatory. In other words, every time someone came in, this was the custom. Now, regarding the traditions of the Komans, it was forbidden to show the soles of your feet to people sitting across from you. Therefore, there were 2 ways you could sit. Option number 1 was to sit like this, and when someone entered and greeted everyone, it was very easy to stand up, greet everyone, and sit back down. And the second option was, as it's called, the Turkish position, where your feet are also hidden and you sit like that. In Oman, women traditionally sit or work completely in this way, like this, with their legs bent. So, as we just saw when we entered one of the workshops where they do handicrafts, they still sit like this and do their handiwork. These are the traditions that have been preserved, and you can still see them today if you visit Oman. If you are sitting and an Omani approaches you, of course, it is important to stand up and greet them, showing your hospitality. Now let's take a look at how the Imam, the person who was in charge of this port, lived. Basically, this was his main living room. Obviously, you could sit here, you could have conversations here. The windows, yes, here. Of course, now there are modern books here, but before, obviously, there would have been whatever was needed. There was a bed. And perhaps the most interesting thing here is a special stand for the Quran, which was, I think that, this is specifically for the Quran. And here is the underground passage. And it was from here that, in case of danger, or if necessary, he could escape or go to a neighboring village. And such passages could stretch for several kilometers underground. Friends, my team and I have been helping you buy real estate in Oman for a long time. We know everything about this country. But when it comes to the United Arab Emirates, and you want to buy not just square meters, but a real solution for life and for business, I recommend contacting my partners. This is a real estate agency, 288 Rio Estate. The head of this agency is Konstantina Ljutovic. His team knows all the market tricks, constantly keeps up with trends, understands which launches are relevant and where you can make a profit. They analyze the market, analyze traffic, especially when it comes to commercial real estate. In short, these guys know their business and help you find great solutions. And I also recommend subscribing now to Konstantin's Telegram channel. He has been living in the United Arab Emirates for 15 years and gives great advice on how to do business and live in this country. We are now in places that every Omani knows. And tourists who aren't afraid to explore and travel can discover them too. This is in Wadi. There are no real rivers in Oman, but there are in the Wadi. These are the places that, when it rains, everything you see here, the entire width, fills up with streams of water and turns into rivers. Also, notice that among the mountains, among the actual rocks you see, everything around is green. And if you go further, they harvest crops there, and dates that have already ripened grow there. There are a lot of people harvesting crops. And also, after yesterday's rain, there are small spots where there's water, and right now people are swimming there and having picnics. In short, it's a place like this. Yes, it's rocky, yes, it's hot, yes, it's unusual. But it's a place that Omanis love, and I definitely recommend coming here to see with your own eyes what real Omani water is like. Friends, I hope you are enjoying the video we made for you about Oman. We tried to create an itinerary that would truly be interesting. The slogan of our journey is Feel Like Omanite. That's why we specifically chose routes that you usually won't find or see in standard videos on the internet. It's not an easy task. A huge team is working to make this tour possible, so it's going to be really great. It would be awesome if you subscribe, give us a like, or even better, share it with your friends so they can also see the real thing. Oman is a country that deserves to be traveled, invested in, and enjoyed. Staying in this country, so please support this tour. Subscribe, give us a like, and we'll keep going, friends. We're in a place that takes your breath away. On one side, you see the majesty of nature, the grandeur of the great Omani Canyon. On the other side, there is absolute silence, a silence so deep it makes your ears ring, and all you can hear is just other tourists who are hiking right now. Hiking. We're walking along the trail, we're on the balcony of the great Omani Canyon, and just look into this abyss of time, this abyss of nature, at how. In Alman, the great Alman Canyon was formed, which is incredibly beautiful, and I highly recommend you visit it. Our trail runs, as I've already mentioned, right along the balcony of the Great Alman Canyon, above all this beauty and abyss. And over there in the distance, that's our path, the one we'll be following ahead. There will be people coming towards us, and we need to hurry because it will get dark soon. It's a very long and simple route, but still, it's a path where you need to stay alert. We arrived at another hotel, which is located on the edge of the Great Oman Canyon, the Grand Oman Canyon. Let me show you, something happened here, an emergency. Yesterday, due to heavy rains, the electricity went out, so we won't be able to spend the night here. We'll leave now for another place, but still. You can see that all the conditions are here, absolutely everything you need to stay overnight. There's a chair that you can take outside later to relax. And of course, there's a very large bed here. There's an air conditioner, but you don't really need to use it because we're in the mountains and the temperature is around 32, 33 degrees, and it will get even lower. And this is the view you get in the morning of the Great Omani Canyon. Friends, the second day of our journey in Oman has come to an end. I probably couldn't have found a better place in all of Oman to tell you about this day. This morning, we started with history. We were able to see the market together just as before. The people of Oman trade at the market, buy animals, sell weapons, and buy them as well. You could observe and see traditions that have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, and then we continued on together. We looked at dozens of types of halwa, which are still made in factories, some of which are 150 years old. We also checked out which hotels you can stay at, and we drove through a wadi, one of the largest, and saw what it was like. And now in the evening, we are here together, wrapping up this day, dare I say it, at the edge of the earth, at an altitude of 2,000 meters. We are standing right on the cliff. Behind me is just a drop, a few steps, and there's no way back. The Great Omani Canyon, which impresses with its scale and with what nature is capable of creating. And this sense of awe is here again, in Oman. You can see how, in just one day, you can go from sweltering heat of 45 degrees, from a historic market trading in weapons and animals, to reaching the grandeur of nature and losing yourself in how beautiful and wonderful everything is here. Oman keeps surprising us, and we continue traveling together, discovering Oman for living, traveling, investing, and simply enjoying life.